Friends, we continue the reflection on the journey of the heart. And today, I'd like to share with you the roundabout way. How God can use the roundabout way as a way to help us, to guide us in our journey of faith in Him. After God performed signs and wonders in the plagues through Moses and Aaron, the Israelites were allowed to leave Egypt by the Pharaoh. The Israelites were about to embark in an emotional and exciting journey to the Promised Land. The deliverance from slavery to freedom must have been an emotional high and motivated for the people for a better future. They have just experienced the victories of God's miraculous deliverance and witnessed the mighty acts of God. Similarly, we too may have experienced God in a wonderful way that left us highly motivated with a sense of being somewhat invincible and ready for anything. We are challenged for a deeper spiritual journey and in what we are longing for. As Ruth Haley Barton aptly describes, I quote, "After the stress of decision making and change, we are ushered into a time of spiritual flourishing, characterized by great enthusiasm, gratitude, voracious learning, and service." Close quote. Our God, in His infinite wisdom and knowledge, lead and guide us in His love and grace, that we don't face challenges that are more than we can handle. The Bible tells us that God intentionally led the Israelites in a roundabout way rather than a direct route because God knew that the people were not ready to take on the challenges ahead of them. Exodus 13 verses 17 and 18. New Revised Standard Version says, "When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Palestine, although that was nearer. But God thought, if the people face war, they may change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people by the roundabout way of the wilderness towards the Red Sea." As I reflect my own life, I learned the roundabout way in the life of my late mother. Many of you know that I come from a family with a background of Chinese religions and practices. Ever since, as a young Christian, I've been praying for my parents to come to faith in Jesus. There were challenging and difficult moments in sharing and talking to my parents about Christ and the gospel message. Most of the time, they were not interested in engaging. And in fact, they resisted and quite hostile when I become a Christian. So you can see that my parents already have some preconceived idea of what Christianity is all about. They often tell me that it is the religion of the Western people. So, for many years, I actually gave up trying and come to the conclusion that it was very hard to communicate Christ to parents. Well, in the year 2013, I was posted to Canning Garden Methodist Church, Ipoh. And here I was closer to my parents' home. And again, God impressed on me to engage with my parents again with Jesus Christ and the gospel message. I have lots of occasion to visit them in Kampa since I'm quite near to them. I will share the testimony of God's grace in my life, ministry, and even in the life of my parents, as well as the gospel of salvation when the opportunity arises. Well, in mid-2015, my mom was diagnosed with 4th stage lung cancer. We were all shocked, including my mom. God was very gracious. My mom took the news quite well and didn't sink into depression. When we told her that her cancer was already in a very advanced stage, she agreed with us that she will not go for treatment because treatment will make things more difficult for her at her advanced age. It dawned on her now that all she had lived for and done wasn't helping her to cope with a terminal illness and also death. One day, she said this to me in Cantonese, that, I quote, "After 70 over years, all that I have done religiously was not helping me at all." Close quote. I remember being with my mom while waiting for her to be discharged from the hospital. We talked about many things, and I also take the opportunity to share Christ with her, that only Jesus can give her the peace that she needs and the strength that she needs at this very challenging and difficult time. She knew she needed the strength to face the deterioration of her body because of cancer. I also share that Jesus can guide her in her predicament. If God would want to heal her, God can heal her instantly. If healing does not come, Jesus is still with her to give us the strength and the peace to face her illness and death unafraid. She asked me a few other questions about the faith, about Christ, and even about baptism. In fact, she will ask me that if one becomes a Christian, does one need to be baptized? Of course, I will say to her, yes, she must be baptized if she becomes a Christian. This is very significant for her because when I become a Christian, she forbid me to be baptized. And she knew that baptism is a means of God's grace in conversion. But anyway, I invited her to accept Jesus, but she just kept quiet. A few days later, my church Chinese pastor and the visiting team visited my parents in their home in the village Mambang Diawan, Kampa. It was then and there my mom made the decision to accept Jesus as her Lord and Savior, and also my dad. The change in her was immediate and instant as she wanted to give up idol worship and to be baptized. So a week later, my parents were baptized in the family home, witnessed by all my family members, my own family, and my 2 pre-believer brothers and their families. My brothers didn't object when my parents were baptized. In fact, one of my brothers commented that my mom's decision to be a Christian was genuine. No coercion from anybody. My mom certainly has the peace and hope of Christ as she faced her terminal illness and also her imminent death. God was gracious to her and she suffered little. A week or so later, my mom was called home to be with Jesus in her sleep. For me, this is truly a roundabout way that God showed Himself in my journey of faith, and also, of course, my parents. It took more than 30 years for my parents to acknowledge Jesus as their Redeemer and Lord. Sometimes, as I think about this, I wish it could have been more a direct route. But God's ways and thoughts are certainly much higher than ours. I hope you are encouraged to persevere and let God prepare you for the challenges that will come your way, even in the roundabout way. For God is in control, and all you and I need is to trust Him as we follow Jesus.